Good morning, Namaste family. Wonderful. Oh, I'm sorry, I interrupted you once again. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Oh, yes, that's what I like to feel and hear and know that we are in a good morning. So we're going to start off with one of the peace prayers, as we have been. And today we're going to be sharing the Jewish prayer of peace. So as we join with all of our Jewish brothers and sisters, let's just feel that sacred frequency of peace moving through all of us. Come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, that we may walk the paths of the Most High. And we will beat our swords into plowshares and our spears into pruning hooks. Nations shall not lift up swords against nations, and neither shall they learn war anymore. And none shall be afraid, for the mouth of the Lord of hosts has spoken. Oh, come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord. It's so beautiful, isn't it? We begin with these prayers because they link us to that universal energy of peace as it's expressed from every tradition. That's one of the things that I've always loved about these prayers, is that if you took a few of the words that, like if you took the word Allah out of the Muslim prayer, or a few of the identifiers, you would never know what tradition it comes from, because they're all saying the same thing. Love one another, give everything to everything, because it's the only way you can have everything. And isn't that what you really want? Isn't that what your soul is longing for? Literally everything. And I don't mean everything. This is where the ego gets confused. It thinks we're talking about things. You can never have everything, and it's the pursuit of things that trip us up. But when we desire everything, we're desiring all the holiness, all the peace, all the joy that is rightfully ours. And it is given to us gladly. It is God's good pleasure to give us the kingdom if only we would receive it. And then be the source of it generously, just as it was generously given to us. That's really what all of these peace prayers are saying. Open up and receive, allow, bless. Because if you do, you'll realize that everything has always been yours. We're the ones who block it. We're the ones who interrupt that divine flow. And it gets to the point where we would say, why? Why would I continue to deny myself and everyone that gift that is wholly given? Wholeness. So as you know, a week or so ago, I came out with a book that's all about wholeness, the non-dual universe. And people sometimes say, well, what is that? What does it mean, non-dual or non-duality? And then we might be tempted to try to identify, well, this is non-dual, this is not. This person is teaching non-duality, that person is not. Guess what you just did? You just fell into the biggest duality trap there is. Because a non-dual mind sees everything as non-dualistic. No matter how it appears, it disregards all of that completely. That's the experience. The instant you find yourself correcting or trying to determine what is and what isn't, it's the isn't that has claimed you. But the isness of reality, that which is always whole, that which is always complete, if we choose to see only that, then it's that claims us, love that claims us, wholeness. So it's been wonderful getting that book out and just hearing all the beautiful responses from people around the world. But I want to talk this morning about something else that I'm getting ready to actually re-release. And it's a book that I wrote, well, I would say it wrote me more than I wrote it. Oh, almost 20 years ago now. And I know many of you know that book. We talk about it sometimes here. The original title was The Art of Spiritual Peacemaking. Big hardcover book. And it went out of print years ago. That happens. But still, people write to me, just several people a week or so ago, and said, you've got to get this book back out. This book is the essence. It's really the code. In fact, I'll tell you about it here. And why I decided to re-release it. Someone suggested something that really sparked me. A man named Paul, I think Paul Gorman, he wrote me an email saying, why don't you rebrand it as the Yeshua Code? The Yeshua Code. I like that. In fact, let me show you something. So this is the new cover. The Yeshua Code. Isn't that a beautiful cover? So this book is going to be coming out in just about a week or two. Barack has been helping me once again and getting it ready to be released. And what I did was I took these first 33 lessons. Let me tell you about them, because they came from a miracle. And anything that comes from a miracle remains miraculous forever. Wouldn't you agree, Ravi? Anything that comes from a miracle remains miraculous forever, if we allow it to be so. So this story begins, I think it was in 2002. I love bringing groups of people to Israel. And I brought a group in this particular year. And when the rest of the group left, a few of us had about 3 more days left. So we got together, we wanted to go back to one of our very favorite places, which was the Dead Sea. If you've ever been to the Dead Sea, you know what I mean. It's really amazing. In fact, one of the people that was with me was JM, or John Mark Hammer. Cool. So we all went down, and there's a place that I know where there are hot mineral springs that come out of the Dead Sea. And you probably know that the Dead Sea has such a high concentration of salt that you cannot sink. You just bob at the surface. And the same is true of this hot mineral spring. And when we went there with the group a few days earlier, there were a lot of people, but this was during the week now, so there was no one. Now, I should back up and tell you that a couple of months before this, I had released an online course. It was really a course about miracle-mindedness, but I needed a hook, something that I knew would really hook people. So what the course seemed to be about, it was called the Spoonbender Course. And it was all about how to use your mind to bend a spoon. But it was really about miracle-mindedness. The spoon bending was the hook. Well, boy, did it hook. I think 40,000 people took that course in the course of about 2 weeks. It was actually kind of like breaking the 4-minute mile. No one had ever had an online course that had just exploded in that way. After that, everybody had online courses. But the Spoonbender course was amazing. And it was so popular that I wanted to follow it up with something even more powerful. And I had a name came to me, and that was all I had. And the name was The Art of Spiritual Peacemaking. And I sat down and tried to write it a few times, but nothing really of any value that I could feel. I didn't feel it inside myself. Nothing came. So now here I am at the Dead Sea. I'm in this hot spring all by myself. And I should say that there were a lot of people who were writing to me saying, well, when is this course going to happen? We're so excited for this course. And I didn't want to tell them I have no idea, because I haven't written a single word. So I'm in this hot springs, when suddenly I look up and I see a man walking toward me. He looked like a typical Israeli. He had a beard, long hair, had sort of a white thing wrapped around him. And it looked like he was just walking out of the desert, as you would. And he walked straight up to me. And at first I thought he was getting ready to just get into the water. I can even remember moving to the side a little bit. And I looked into his eyes. And that's when I realized something remarkable was happening, because his eyes shone like the sun. They were so bright, brighter than anything I'd ever seen before. And the energy I was feeling, And this is when, of course, I'd been thinking about this course. This is when he looks down at me and he says, "Would you like some help with this?" And the funny thing is, I felt myself hesitate. And it was that hesitation that was causing me all the problem, because I thought I had to do this on my own. I thought I was meant to write this course. I mean, I've written books. I know what I'm doing. I don't need any help. But the instant I said, yes, I need help, because I realized in that moment that this was not a physical experience that I was having. It was something much deeper. Yes, I was seeing this form in a way, but it was much more within me than it was without me. And I realized that who I was perceiving was Yeshua. And I say Yeshua instead of Jesus, because I felt in that moment, this is the real thing. This is the real person, not the European version, or the version that most of us are familiar with in paintings and movies. This was the same man that walked this same earth 2,000 years ago. And the instant I said yes, I felt almost like I was a computer with a program being downloaded. And you know, when you download a program onto your computer, it may first just appear as an icon on the screen. You don't really know what it is. If it's a document, you can't read it until what? You click on that icon. So in that moment, I knew something had been transmitted, but I didn't know what it was. And Yeshua said to me, every day for 33 days, get into hot water just like you are right now. And that's going to be like clicking onto the program. And something's going to open up inside you. And it's going to be encoded. There's going to be a code of awakening in each of these lessons. Every single lesson will be exactly 999 words. You'll send them out every 3 days. And I'm in this experience, like just overwhelmed. And finally, when it was over, I remember jumping out of the hot springs and running around looking for a piece of paper and a pen so I can just write down everything that I had felt and heard. And of course, there's JM standing there like, what's going on? And I told him, because this is someone who's had that same experience, and he could immediately feel the authenticity of the frequency that I was feeling in that moment. So as I went back to Oregon, every day I would get into our hot tub, and I would just wait, and I would just meditate until suddenly I would feel something open. And immediately I would jump out, my computer was right there, and I would just start typing. I wasn't even thinking, I would just type. And every time I would feel this energy of stop. And I would look down at the word count, and 80% of the time, exactly 999 words. And I wouldn't change a thing. Sometimes it'd be one word off or 2 words, and I would make a contraction or something. But almost every time it was, and I wouldn't change anything, because I knew this was what Yeshua was talking about. He said that when he was here 2,000 years ago, he spoke to the masses in parables, just as we've been doing for the last few days. He would tell stories, but to his closest friends, he would reveal the secrets of the kingdom. And he said, this is what is encoded, the secrets of the kingdom. It will evade the intellectual mind completely, but the soul will fully receive. And so I began to put these lessons out first in just a PDF form, and then ultimately as the book. And as Vicky and many others would tell you, it was without question, I think, the most important, until the non-dual universe, of course. Until then, I think it was, without question, the most important transformational offering that I've been part of. And I have to say, it would be easy to assume that I was channeling Jesus or channeling Yeshua. And it really wasn't like that. Not this traditional idea we have of channeling, where there's some higher entity outside of me using me as this passive vessel to speak through me. I've never resonated with this idea of channeling. And we know, say, those of us who are students of A Course in Miracles, that's not what Helen's experience was either. She heard a voice and she wrote it down, but she was a very active participant. And A Course in Miracles comes through in a very psychologically motivated fashion. And she was a brilliant psychologist. So for me, it felt like he was working through and as me. So it was this combination of energy and light that was drawing these lessons through. So the reason I'm telling you this story is yesterday, Baraka and I have been putting the finishing touches on the book to get it ready to be released in a couple of weeks, the new version. And I came across one very simple little section. And I know that this beginning part is definitely part of this code. So I want you to hear this, but more than hear. I want you to truly, wholly, completely receive this. Even if it doesn't truly make sense intellectually, just drink it in as if it's the finest wine. And let's see where it takes us. So this is what it calls a formula. In fact, it says the formula. And here it is. First, the mind surrenders, then sees. Next, the heart surrenders, then sees. Finally, the soul awakens, then knows. We're going to come back to this in a moment, but let me read it one more time. First, the mind surrenders, then it sees. Next, the heart surrenders, and then it sees. And finally, the soul awakens, and then it knows. And this is what comes right after that. This formula applies both to the order in which you are experiencing enlightenment, as well as the method. Notice the way I expressed those words. I did not say the order in which you will receive enlightenment, for that would mean that it is not yours now, or that I am somehow different than you. There is nothing that is full in my mind that is also not complete within yours. I know this, and now it's time for you to know it as well. I have said that you are already awake, and the only difference between your mind and mine is that I believe these words fully. You have considered them, But it's not the same as realizing that any other thought would be impossible, especially now. It is who you are, and I constantly look upon this reality. Open your eyes, and you will do the same. So I believe that that is the voice of the Christ. You can call it Yeshua or whatever you want. We could just say that's the voice of the one who knows, the one who understands, the one who reveals. And so this formula, beginning with the mind and then the heart, and then the full awakening of the soul. If we follow that, first the mind must surrender. It has to give up what it thinks it knows. It has to give up trying to dominate. It has to surrender. Because when it does, it will begin to see something that it could not see before. It will begin to see past its illusion, its self, the self-created illusion. That's the first step. Then the heart must surrender. Surrendering means to fall back, to allow. Because then when the heart surrenders, then it begins to see. So the mind, the heart have surrendered, and now they come together into a single point of light, because then the soul awakens, and then it knows. Knowing something, not believing. Belief is of the mind. Knowing is so much deeper. I know this. People sometimes say to me, you speak with such confidence as if there is no other possibility. And you know what I say to them? Because there isn't. There is no other possibility. God is love, and therefore so are you. There's no compromise in that. There's no argument in that. I know this to be true because I am in the full experience of that, and so are you. If we would only let our mind surrender, our heart surrender, and then allow our soul to awaken, then we know. We know that only love is real. What more need I know? This is not about knowing a theology. This is not knowing about a tradition that has been handed down. Those things are fine, but it's not what I know. What I know is love. And this is the transformation that Yeshua is leading us to through, of course, miracles, through the Yeshua Code, through JM's work, or anyone else that speaks through and for the Christ. And that's you. Each one of us speaks through and for the Christ. I know that when Pam writes a book, she has the same experience. She gets out of the way and allows something to come through. By the way, Lisa, this is Pamela Gott we're talking about. She's right here. I know you love her. The soul awakens and then it knows. This is so simple. We just have to allow it to be simple. Doesn't matter where the voice comes from or what book you read it in, just drink it in. Don't read it with your mind. Just let it take you. So I'm so excited to be able to bring this book out again, the Yeshua Code, formerly known as The Art of Spiritual Peacemaking. We're going to be releasing it first as the 33 lessons, and then we're going to do the second part, which is the 365 lessons in a separate book. But Vicki, I want to turn to you and Lisa and anyone else who is around you first and see where this lands. When you hear this formula, where does this land for you?
Well, thank you, Brother James. Good morning, everybody. So a couple of things. First thing is, Jesus says salvation is a collaborative venture. And what a beautiful example of collaboration, whether it's you or Pam or Lisa or any brothers or sisters that write a book, dance a dance, sing a song, when you know it comes from that part of your being that we call the soul, from the knowing, not the thinking, the realm of perception, but the part of us that is awakened and we can all access. So that's a great example. And the other thing, and because you were talking about stories all week, James, we are the story of awakening. We are the parable of what awakening at this moment in time looks like. There's never been a comprehensive awakening where there was a surrender of the thinking mind that is nothing more than the perception of separation. That's the whole realm, nothing more than that. Surrendering it is just saying, no, separation isn't so. I want to know what is so. That's all surrendering in perception is. One perception that we're separate. And then opening our heart and welcoming everything. And then our soul speaks because nothing is blocking it anymore. But we are that story, all of us. All of us here on the various Zooms with all the books. We are the story being told. We are the pages. We are it. So I want to thank you for that. Let's see what you have to say, Lisa.
Yeah, I just want to say, James, I am so excited. Like how it's landing, it's so true. The whole idea of wholeness. I just learned of your book yesterday, actually. It hasn't arrived yet for Vic, but we were like, where's the book? It hasn't arrived. So I'm going to order it today from Amazon. And everything that you were just expressing, was just, Vic was just saying it. Like this is the awakening that's happening right now for the whole world. This isn't just A Course in Miracles and we're all going to sit around and talk about it. And it is an actual experience that's happening in so many individuals. And just thank you for everything that you're doing. I mean, just I'm sitting here just so happy that the message is going out. And I just love this idea of the Yeshua code and the formula. There's your next book. Just it's, and to have this community, what you've built and everyone here, I just, wow.
Wow, indeed. That's all we can say, isn't it? It's the only thing that's left. Wow, this is happening. It's real. This is so exciting, isn't it? To feel that, to know that. Just feel that. Wow. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Vicki. Anybody else there want to say anything?
Elaine, Bonnie?
No thanks.
We love you.
We love
you.
Oh, we are loved. There is so much love here in this moment, this holy instant. I am so grateful. I see that Baraka, who's been so helpful in getting all of these books out, has his hand up. What do you want to share, Baraka?
Well, I just checked the publishing page for Joshua Code, and we're within 24 hours of it being actually live on Amazon.
Nice.
Wow. So prolific, that James Twyman, isn't he?
That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, oh my God, this guy. And I want
It will be available on Amazon Canada.
Oh yeah, it's always available
It's
on all of the
certainly
Amazon.
saved.
Yeah, when it goes live on one, it goes live on all.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then, of course, right after that, we have the book that I've been working with Reverend Stephen, The 10 Symptoms of Enlightenment. And then you got, this is kind of an announcement, something that you all are going to be very excited about. If many of you remember the very deep teaching that I've been doing on, I don't know, maybe, I love you. Well, that is going to be the title of a new book that I'm writing with Vicki and Baraka. Isn't that exciting?
awesome.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe. This is an exciting time when the experience is exploding. It's exploding in every direction. And Vicki, I love how you said that this is the story. We are the story of the awakening. Whether it be here at Namaste Village or the Namaste experience, wherever anyone is, wherever I am, that's where the story is unfolding, of the awakening into light. I'm feeling drawn to call on Calico. Calico, if you're out there, I'm just feeling your energy coming down the hill. Is there anything you'd like to share?
Hi, James, and hi, Lisa. I had a great conversation this morning with someone that got this lesson of projection and how to pull it back in such a deep, beautiful way. And, I'm with you. It's like, this is the time of awakening for all of us. And it's, I just, I'm so glad to be present to it and witness it. And just, my heart just explodes every time I hear someone seeing how this works, not in a book sense, not in a, I'm going to study this and I'm going to get it. That's how I started with the Course in Miracles. That failed miserably, but it's really to practice this with every thought, And it's like to see how we program ourselves to either be a witness to forgiveness or to witness continuing to make wrong. And when we really see how our mind works, and it's like, all I know for myself, I mean, the practice that I'm getting so deeply these days is, as soon as, I have a thought that runs through, and the way this is working for me right now is my body will do something that it normally doesn't do. And I want to make it wrong. And I immediately stop the thought. It's like, where am I not trusting God? Because it all boils down to, if I'm trusting God, my mind doesn't loop. It just doesn't loop. I'm in just a state of grace and joy. And as soon as I focus on something, whether it's a physical issue or, someone out there is doing something, it's like it stops that loop in my mind. And then I can ask for help. And that's the critical piece. You gotta ask for help to see it differently, because that stops the loop and turns it to God and says, I need help here. I can't do anything with this. And you can help me do that. And that's my gift for myself. And I just thank you for this session. And it's so wonderful to join with all of you and, just be present to this grand awakening of mind. It's beautiful. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Calico. It's time to stop the guilt loop. That's the only thing that keeps us blocked. The guilt loop that runs over and over in our minds. I'm guilty, I don't deserve this. One way or another, that's all perception is. That's all the ego is, one big guilt loop. And the escape is exactly what we heard. So we're going to close by just hearing it one more time, just so we can sink even deeper. So I'll invite you, if you want, you can close your eyes or whatever you need to do just to really deeply receive this formula. First, the mind surrenders, then it sees. Next, the heart surrenders, then it sees. Finally, the soul awakens, and then it knows. This formula applies both to the order in which you are experiencing enlightenment, as well as the method. Notice that the way I expressed those words, I did not say the order in which you will experience enlightenment, for that would mean that it is not yours now, that you are not filled with light now, or that I am somehow different than you. There is nothing that is full in my mind that is also not full and complete in yours. Let me read that again. There is nothing that is full and whole and complete in my mind that is not also full and complete and whole in yours. I know this. And now it's time for you to know it as well. I have said that you are already awake. And the only difference between your mind and mine is that I believe these words fully. You've considered them, yes, but it's not the same as realizing that any other thought would be impossible. It is who you are, and I constantly look upon this reality. So open your eyes, and you will do the same. You will see, you will know. Only love is real. And so it is. Thank you. Thank you for this holy instant of grace and awakening that we share. What a beautiful gift we give to ourselves and to each other. So Vicky, Lisa, all of you there in Boston,
We love you.
yeah, we love you all. It's so wonderful to see you. Keep coming back. Elaine, when are you coming back to Mexico?
Next Tuesday.
And when are you coming to Boston?
Soon, I hope. And Elaine, you're never going to believe who's sitting here. Danny. Danny's
Yay.
We love you guys. Have a beautiful day. Namaste.
Namaste.
Can't wait to read your book.
Yeah.
Love you.
We'll see you
Namaste.
soon.
I'm always rejected.